All right, everybody, welcome back to another Ask a Dev Unreal Engine live tutorial. My name's Kevin. We are at the end of an age, you all. We're going to be making some changes to the channel. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about what we're doing today. Today, we are going to be taking a look at, we're continuing our database and save game journey. Today, we're actually going to be, hopefully our audio is on. Today we're actually going to be working on connecting to a database and making changes to the records and everything inside Unreal. If you missed our database stream last week, you don't even know what a database is, you may want to go back and check that out before you just hop head over heels into this one. Thanks, Bart. I appreciate the heads up. Also, thanks for being here, everybody. Bart, Specta, Off the Rails, Ilya, Warren. It's good to see you all. Did I miss anybody? I think I got everybody. So, real quick, just some channel maintenance, end of an era. We have been, I don't even know, it's been probably 3-4 years that we've been making tutorials and streams for Unreal Engine. Over the last year plus, we've been doing a fairly regular live stream every Wednesday. And y'all, I need to get back and make my game and recharge some batteries and come up with some more content for future tutorials and stuff like that. So we're going to be making a couple changes. It doesn't mean we're no longer doing tutorials. It just means that we're going to probably be pivoting this time to focus on Patreon and doing dev streams on Patreon. So we're going to be doing live dev streams more, trying to help all of those people who have contributed to the channel for so long, to help try to bring value to their support over this entire time. Everybody else, it's going to be a little bit more random. So you're going to have to keep an eye on the calendar as far as when the next video is coming out or the next live stream, etc. There was a request to do a Q&A, just an open Q&A. I'll probably schedule that at some point. But we're doing this because we're doing... I'm making a game, y'all, just like you all. I'm trying to make a game. So look for content about that coming out today. But for today, we're going into databases again. So let's get started. Oh, actually, before we get started, Avestra, our newest Patreon member, thank you for hopping in and supporting the channel and everything we're doing here. I very much appreciate it. So, and like I said, I'm going to be doing everything I can to try to bring value for you all going forward as we go ahead. So with that, let's hop into databases and where we sort of left off last week. Okay. Remember we kind of took a break from our JSON project. This was our JSON project that we had in Unreal Engine. This is actually a couple weeks back now. And we had it so that we could save data and we could load data. And this is all the stuff that was happening. But this was all being done with JSON. And then last week, we went ahead and we were working with our databases. So this was the database that we built live last week. These are all of our tables, our player, our inventory, our slots, and everything like that. So how do we bring all this together? Well, what we need is we need the ability for Unreal to be able to talk to a database. Now, fortunately, we don't have to figure that out from a couple different standpoints. One, there's a couple different ways you can connect to a database. They are fairly standardized. And the type of connection you're going to use is largely dependent on what kind of database you're talking to. So the easy case is the database that we're going to be working with today. It is a SQLite database that is located on disk. You don't have to do any kind of weird connection stuff. You just kind of got to say, where's the database on disk? And you'll be able to talk to it. The other one that's worth knowing about, though, is a database that's on a server. And it's the same whether it's a web server or you're running it as a local server or any of those other things. And one common way to connect is what's called ODBC. So ODBC stands for Open Database Connectivity. What it is it's a whole API. It's kind of like this language that allows you to talk to ODBC compatible databases, which is like all of them or most of them, and it gives you a common language so that you can manipulate, select, query, update all the kind of things that you would want to do with a database. Generally, the way this works is you set up a connection string. It is usually the address of your database as well as the credentials to connect to your database. As I mentioned last week, you do not want this connection string on a player's local computer because they would potentially be able to wreak havoc on your system and do all kinds of fun stuff. Prignon, welcome to the stream. I'm glad you're feeling better. So that's how an ODBC connection works. It's like literally it's basically a username and a password type string that connects to the database. Once you have that connection, it kind of opens a channel so you can talk to the database and you can send it queries and get the information back. So that's how you connect. But today we're going to be working with our local SQLite database because how we do this really has no significant impact. Whether it's a connection string or not, we're still going to be using the same stuff. Now, the other thing, and I put the link in the comments for this live stream, we're using a plugin today, and I spent a bunch of time, hold on, let me find it. I spent a bunch of time evaluating different database plugins. That in and of itself was a little bit of a crazy journey, but the one that we're using today is this SQLite 3. I think it was $12 or $9 or something like that, and it is the most fundamental of fundamental database connections. The other one that is worth mentioning is this SQLite. This is kind of a wild setup, the SQLite. I ran into some problems with it. It was looking really promising, but super confusing. I have a whole tutorial coming if the dev gets back to me, and so I want to save you all the time. If the dev doesn't get back to me, I won't be able to finish that tutorial because right now there's no way to unpack the data. You can store it all, you can do all kinds of cool stuff, but there's the unpack piece is missing. So until I hear about that, I won't have like my discoveries to share with you on this one. But it was kind of wild, counterintuitive for a classic database engineer, but potentially helpful for anybody who's venturing in the first time. So look for that in a future update. So for today, we're using the DT SQLite. All right. Now, let's see. Milan, welcome to the stream. Yes, I actually have a whole video coming to talk about my game and the mistakes I made along the way. So let's see here. You can technically write a Python wrapper interface with SQLite, so you don't need to deal with these plugins. That's true. Warren is right. So Unreal, actually, it's worth mentioning. Unreal actually even ships with a SQLite database and SQLite support. So if you don't want to use the plugins, you don't have to. You can write Python. I don't have a ton of time to be writing my own Python libraries to access the SQL stuff, especially because the whole point is just to kind of show you some of what is waiting for you in the future as you start working with databases in Unreal Engine and why they're still pretty cool and powerful. And also, as always, something I forgot to mention, Warren, Chap 5, everybody on Discord who has literally helped hold down the fort while I've been doing all these training tutorials. Like, I can't thank you all enough. Super rock stars and helping making our Discord community awesome. So thank you for that. Okay, so today, how do we do this save load with a database instead? How do we even access our database? So let's take a look at a couple things. So if we take a look at our game instance, if you recall 2 streams ago, we had a couple setups. We had our save game, and we also had our load game data. Okay, so what I'm going to do to start with is, let's just start simple. We know we have this database right now. Let's see how hard it is for us to print out all of the players in our database. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to hijack this load game data, and we are going to did I forget to open my notes? I did. Let me open my notes here real quick, you all, because that will help us smooth out the bumps, which always seem to happen, the fun that always seems to happen during live streams. So give me 1 second. Okay. While that's opening, if I just type SQL in here, you'll see under the DT SQL, there's a create SQL object and an execute SQLite. This is it. This is how simple this is. This execute SQLite, literally, where did that go? Hold on. My notes supposedly popped up. Here we go. Okay, so this execute SQLite is it is literally as simple as this. So first we need the path to our database, which in this particular case, if we go back, this database, this one that I'm showing you in dbeaver, is called gamesavelive.db, and it is currently located on our C drive, and the user's Kevin OneDrive, temp gamesavelive. All right, and what we're going to do is we're just going to execute a SQL select. So let's just select star from table player. Okay, now the reason we did all of the work we did last night to help, last night, I was up till like, I don't even know what time sorting all this out. Last week in our last stream was so that you all were familiar with the idea of these SQL calls and statements and how to select things. Okay, so if we select everything from our table player, we're going to get a result back. And all we're going to do is we're going to break this result. Okay. And then for each of the famous accidental double click. Okay. So for each of these, we're going to loop through all the results. All right. And then as we loop through the results, we're going to break these results. Okay. And you can think of it as this is getting all the rows, and then we're going to go through all the rows, and we're going to break that up, and then we're going to get there. We're going to get from that the keys. So this is going to be, you can think of these as the column titles, headers, if you will. All right, and we're going to go from these keys, and for each of those, I am going to, let's print them. Let's just print them. Let's print something fancy. Okay, so let's do a print string, and just see if we can print out all of our player information. So if this is the key, this is going to be like the column header. I'm going to append some information to this. And what I'm going to append is I'm going to be appending the value. So to do that, I want to find, I believe I need to find here. So we're going to find the value for that key, and we're going to append this here. And let's put a colon between them. And then we will go ahead and print that out. And then let's go ahead and make this 20 seconds so we have time to read it. 10 is probably good, not 210. Let's go 10. Okay, so we're querying our database with the results. We're going to go through each of the results. We're going to get the keys for each of the results. And then for each key, we're going to get the value for the key by finding it here. And then we're just going to print it out. I'm keeping it simple for right now. All right, so let's compile and save. And when we go, now I'm actually, I think this is not going to work. So don't be surprised if this doesn't work. Okay, it does not work. And what I want to show you, this is important. You'll notice that we get this error message. Failed to open database, la-di-da-di-da. The reason we couldn't open the gamesave.live.db is something that's important to note is because we actually have it open and locked in our dbeaver application. So you can't have, this cannot be connected at the same time because this application, I didn't realize this, apparently actually locks it. So depending on what tool you are using to access your database and kind of track what's happening, it's worth mentioning that you may actually need to either shut it down, or in this case, what we can do, if you happen to be following along, we can just disconnect from the database temporarily. And when we do that, now when we walk over it, you'll notice in the left of our screen, what do we have? We have all the information. Now, the blue on the background is pretty tough to read. So let's just see what we printed in our script editor here. So you can see, if we look at our names, this is all the data that we entered last week using all those SQL statements. So we have now accessed our database in Unreal Engine, and we're just printing out our name, Rusty, region, player ID, all these different things. Okay? So we now have full access to our database to do all the things. Now, there's a couple things that are worth noting. Generally speaking, we're probably, for something like getting our player, we're probably not going to ask for all the things. We're probably going to do things like in our SQL Select statement. We're going to select everything from table player, where primary key player ID is equal to, does anybody remember what Rusty's player ID was? It was 1, just in case you forgot. So I'm going to say get every player ID where the player ID was 1. I'm sorry, get all the records where the player ID is 1. And in doing that, now when we walk over our load, you'll see we only print Rusty's information and in the top left. So we can actually get the specific information and everything that we want. Okay, cool. That's pretty cool. What about the save? How does that work? It's the same thing, y'all. Like, it's literally the same thing. All we have to do is, rather than using a select statement, we can just use an update statement. So if I wanted to, let's do this. Let's do 2 things. Actually, no, let's do 2 separate things. All right, so we're going to, let's go to our save game, and we're going to hijack this. And what I want to do is very simply, same thing. I'm going to access this database. Okay, but instead of a select, we're going to, let's go update table player hikes player set email equal to Rusty at newemail.com, where we have to make sure that when we do this, we do it where the player ID is equal to 1, because we don't want to update all of them, because that would be potentially bad. So in this case, we're going to update just Rusty's email address. So if my memory is correct on how SQL statements work, and like I said, it's been a long time since I've done all of this, we may have to cheat and look that up. So one thing that I can say that I'm happy about is we did not get a SQL error when we did our save game, which is cool. Now, what we could do is we could now reconnect to our database just to check. We could just connect here just by clicking connect, and we can look and see if Rusty's email was updated. It was. It's Rusty at newemail.com, which is cool. Or rather than doing that, since we now have a connection in Unreal, if I disconnect again, we come back to Unreal. If we move this off to the side, we can go ahead and walk over it, and you can see in the top left, in this terribly horrific font color, we have email Rusty at newemail.com. I wonder if, what do y'all think? Do you think white is easier to read on that background? Let's try this. That was black. Oh no, that's white. Let's try that real quick. That's a little easier, right? Okay, cool. So that is the simplicity of connecting to a database. Now, I think there's some other things that are like, I mean, could we call that a wrap? We could, but I'm not going to do that to you all. There's a couple other things that we could that are potentially worth mentioning to take this like kind of like to the next step. What if we combined, like what are a couple of things that we could potentially do to use to leverage our database so that we can store our weapons and things like that? And there's a little bit of a data structure and learning thing that I think is a fun conversation to have as a result of what is now, honestly, this SQL management. It's kind of like another level of overhead. All right, so let's talk about save game for a second. So save game, if we come in here, let's say that we want to save all of the weapons that Rusty is carrying. Okay, the whole inventory. Now, if you recall, inside of our database, when we connect, we can take a look and we can see that for our database diagram, we have our player inventory, and this is made up of all of the items. And our items, these are all of our items, and then this is the inventory, and this is who's carrying what, except I'm not in the data column. But remember, these are all kind of ones and zeros and all these kinds of things. So there's a little bit of a juggling thing that needs to happen, where in order for you to, let's just say that because this is the FK player ID, all of these that are marked as 1, these are all Rusty's items. These first 2 are Rusty's. And if you recall, player 3 was off the rails. So player 3 has all of these items. Trying to juggle all of these indices and numbers and stuff like that, imagine that you want to update on game save what Rusty or off the rails inventory is. What you're going to have to do is you are either going to have to remove everything in this table that the Rusty has, or you're going to have to check, find, manage, and all those kinds of things. Easiest thing, like just especially from like a prototype standpoint, is you would just delete everything in table player inventory where FK player ID equals Rusty, and then you would insert the new fields, right? But you also now have to know what the database index or primary key is for all of your items in game. So somewhere in your game, when you create items, etc., there needs to be access to what those items are and their IDs. So now what we're doing is we have to get the items, we have to get the item primary key, we have to remove all of Rusty's current items from the table, then we have to insert all of this stuff to utilize the database the way it's set up currently. That's insane to try to do in 30 minutes. So instead, I'm going to show you also, just from a management, also, you're querying 3 different tables, there's lots of setups. What can we do that's different? All right, let's do this. Draco, welcome to the stream. Courtyard, good to see you. Tomas, welcome. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make some changes to our database. So let's do this. Let's add a record, and let's use a combination of JSON and SQL to save ourselves from that horrific database tracking nightmare, and still show you all how easy it is to connect a database at the same time. So I'm going to alt insert, and I'm going to create a new column called weapons. Okay, and it's not going to be an integer, it is going to be text. Okay, and then I'm going to alt insert, and I'm going to create a new thing called, I think I'm going to go with items. Yeah, I'm going with items, because we're not using the database version of this stuff. We're going back to what we did originally. Excuse me. What we did originally in our JSON, we had items and weapons that we had pre-filled for our players. So for example, let's go back to our third-person character. If we look at the blueprints, our player currently has weapons. These are all the weapons the player has by default. It has a scyther. I don't even know what that is. I spelled that wrong while we were doing it. I think that was supposed to be a scythe. Or a scepter, actually. I think it was supposed to be a scepter. Let's go scepter. Okay, we had a scepter, a longbow, and a sai. And then we also had, from an item standpoint, we had mana potion, health crystal, boots of defense. Let's store this in our database rather than in a JSON file. Okay, well, to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to create 2 new fields called weapons and items that all of our players have. I'm going to save this field. So we're going to execute. This is going to update our table. If we look at the data for our table now, we now have for every player. Oh, I put that in the wrong table, y'all. Oops. Okay, let's go back. Let's delete this. Yes, I wanted to put this in the player table. Delete. Yes. Okay, and let's save that. And execute, and then go back to table player. Same thing. Let's go properties. Let's alt insert weapons. This is going to be a text, and then we're going to alt insert, and this is going to be items, and this is also going to be text. Okay, and let's save that. Execute the SQL. Take a look at our data. So you can see here now, all of our players, in addition to having emails and regions and display names, what we've done is we've pulled the weapons and the items into the same record. So now when I select Rusty's record, I also get whatever weapons and items Rusty has. But now there's trickery here where I'm going to have to basically be creative about how I use this weapons and items column. So let's disconnect from our database and set this up. So we're going to disconnect. All right, and now what we're going to do is inside of our JSON Live, what we have is this is our SQL. This is eventually going to be what our SQL is. But what we are going to do is we are going to build the update string. Okay? So how in the heck are we going to do that? Well, let's steal a couple things. If you recall, we originally, when we came through here, we created this JSON string. And with this JSON string, we added the player information, and then we set that to the final JSON object. And then we went through all of our weapons and we converted that to a JSON string, and we did a bunch of stuff. What we're going to do is I'm going to cheat. Not cheat, we're going to do some creative problem solving. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a weapons JSON object. That's the wrong screen. I'm going to add another JSON object here. I'm going to call this weapons JSON object. Okay? And then what I'm going to do is in here, when we're done, I want to make sure I get this right, y'all. Yes, okay. So we're going to add another step. Once we finish with the weapons, we're going to take our weapons JSON object, all right, and we are going to set a field. All right, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I want to package just the weapons into a string. And that string, we're going to print it out here in a second. With that string, what I'm going to do is I'm going to store that string in the weapons field in the database. So we're going to come into complete, after complete, and what we're going to plug in, and then eventually we're going to go back to what we were doing before. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this weapons obj, the weapons objects, we're going to feed these into our weapons JSON object, and the field name is going to be weapons. Okay? So we've just created a weapons JSON object that's a standalone thing that's our weapons. All the rest of this stuff is still going to happen. It's going to set the field. It's going to set our JSON file. Okay, but then in addition to doing all the JSON, we are also going to do some database stuff too. Okay, so when we're done, what we're going to do is we are going to make a new connection string. And this is where we have to change a couple of things. We can't just do it all here. So let's make a string, or let's append. All right, and we have to kind of construct our SQL string on the fly. So what we're going to do is we're going to break it into pieces. We are going to update table player, and we're going to set the weapons equal to, we're going to set it equal to something. Now, what we're going to set it equal to is we're going to set it equal to the string that was created by this weapons JSON object. So if we get the JSON string from this, get the JSON string, actually just for kicks, let's just print this first, okay? Even before we do the SQL stuff, let me show you what we're packaging. So let's print the string. All right, I want to show you what this weapon stuff looks like, and we're going to change our color to like bright green, and we'll go with 20 seconds as well. Let's compile and save and run. And the reason we're doing that is because when we walk over this, you can see it prints out weapons, name, all that stuff. That's our weapons string. That's the whole thing packaged up for us. So we could just store that whole string And then we can use a combination of SQL and JSON parsing to not have to manage all kinds of crazy stuff, and also illustrate data organization and execution and all these things and how this stuff goes. So we have this string, we need to append it to our update. So we're going to set weapons equal to, and there's a trick. If we just try to plug this in here, all right, and we say weapons equal to the result of that new package string, and then the last bit is going to be where PK player ID equals 1, so where it's Rusty, this isn't going to work because this is going to create, in fact, maybe we should just do it and I should show you all the error. Okay. Yeah, let's just try it. Watch it works, just because that's also how live tutorials go too. Okay, it did not work. And it did not work because you can see it says right here for us, update, you have to look at the string, update table player set weapons equal to this big long thing where primary key player ID equals 1, unrecognized token. Okay, this is the joy of formatting your own SQL. This is why if you are going to buy a SQL or a database access plugin, etc., sometimes they are worth more than free, because otherwise you're going to have to manage all this stuff. Now, this is not a particularly difficult problem. You can totally do this. So, for example, all we have to do is in our, if we stop, in our JSON live, the problem is all of inside that string of weapons, there's all these double quotes and everything like that. So what we can do is we can just package this whole thing. So what we can just go, we need, I think, 4 of them. So this is going to be, oh, what did I just do? Okay, yeah. Okay, so this is going to be our string, and we just need to surround it with a single quote. All right, and I know that works because inside our string, we do not have any single quotes. If we had single quotes inside of the JSON string, that would be a problem. So when might you have a single quote? If you are taking user comments, for example, and they use, I forget what it's called grammatically, can't instead of cannot, don't instead of do not. If you have that apostrophe S's, possessives, all those things, that's a single quote. So if you have single quotes inside, then you have to go through all this escaping the character so it knows how to read it, all the crazy things. But for now, we're not going to worry about all that. And what we're going to do is hopefully save our string. Okay, we still have a syntax error. So are we getting set weapons? Where PK player ID equals 1 near damage. Oh, okay, we do have a problem. We also have double quotes in our stuff. So here's what we've got to do. We're going to make it for the purpose of the demo, especially because we're burning daylight. There is a problem with our weapons struct. Our weapon struct has a class in it. This class has all kinds of backslashes in it. It's like, this is the joys of wrangling your own database stuff. I'm going to delete this for now. All those backslashes cause problems in our SQL string, because you have to go through and you basically, if you want to insert quotes and you want to insert single quotes and you want to insert backslashes, these are all special characters that when you're sending strings back and forth, you have to help manage the syntax of all these things. All right, so let's see if that is enough to fix it. Yep. Okay, so we did not get an error this time, which is cool. And if we go back to our database, which is over here, we can reconnect to our database. And now you'll notice, look at this. So Rusty now has a bunch of weapons. And all of these weapons are saved out as in a JSON format. So now we're combining the two save game approaches. We have a database that has JSON in it in a single record. So I don't have to go to a separate table. I don't have to wrangle all of those IDs. This would be like the ultra rapid prototype version of it, where you're not wrangling all of this stuff. Okay, so we now have that entered in our database. Let's go back and let's do the same thing. Actually, before we go back and do the same thing for our items, let's catch up on any questions. Go Swami with AI. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for hopping in. Okay, doesn't look like we have any questions so far. Is everybody tracking with me? Is this making sense? You may not walk out of this as a database engineer. That's okay. Just understanding some of the common thought process, pitfalls, escape characters, SQL strings, assembling the string, just knowing what you're getting into is a thing. Yeah, so by the way, everybody, Warren is an amazing, we are fortunate to have Warren in the community, super knowledgeable on so many things. Also next level knowledge. So there are F strings, there are different ways to format strings when you're dealing with almost any programming language, C, C++, database, all these things. So there's F strings, that's a kind of like an Unreal thing. You can do fprint strings, there's string formatting functions, there's lots of different ways that you could potentially get around dealing with quotes and backslashes and things like that. Python has its own things. You can pass in string literals is another way to do it. So there's lots of stuff for potentially juggling all this. But part of the struggle and the learning is so that you can also take a look at the opportunity cost for you. A lot of the reasons people follow this channel is because you all are making your own games. Okay? So is it worth how many hours of your time to sit down to learn not only about databases, but about string formatting, about SQL connections and all those things, versus you find a plugin for $12 or $50 and you save yourself hours and hours and hours and hours of time. Because what it does is it makes all of those things accessible to you without having to worry about it. I think your time is probably worth more than the $12 or $50. And if you can find a plugin and it gets you closer to your objective of shipping your game, do it. Do it. Okay, like Warren's point, I spent many semesters in school. Like no, don't do that to yourself. Okay, so to continue though, to wrap this up, just so you know the kinds of stuff that goes into this, let's go back to our JSON Live stuff. And we're going to do the same thing for items. So let's just duplicate this. And let's call this the items JSON object. And we're going to copy pasta. And okay, cool. We're going to take the field after we finish here. Let's move all this stuff down a little bit, do the same thing. Okay, and this field is going to be, I believe we will go with items on this one. Items. And this is going to be our items JSON object. And we are going to give it the items objects. Control click to drag without having to reconnect. Okay, so this is going to give us our item string, which is cool. So now we have our item string. And then down over here, when we create our update, what we can do is we can set weapons equal to this. And I don't even know if I did the items in the example. I didn't. I believe it's and. I'm going to need 4 more. Let's go 4 more. And I think, hold on, I need to look this one up, y'all. I can't remember. SQL update, hold on, SQL update and. Oh no, it's just a comma. Okay, so it's that, and then we need a comma. So we're going to do comma, and then we're going to say items equal to, and then we're going to need the single quotes again. We need one more pen. And then we're going to do where rest equals 1, single quote again, and we need to get our JSON string from file. So let's take our items object, let's get that, let's get the JSON string from that, and with that we're going to feed that into our update statement. Okay, and just for edification, let's print our final string just so I can show you what it all looks like when it comes together. And let's see if we got that update statement proper. Okay, we got a string. We got an error, but the error is not the same error. The error is because I'm connected to the database. That's what this IO error is. I forgot to disconnect. Where is it? Let's disconnect. Disconnect. Okay, let's try that again. See if this string is proper. Nope. So, this is why I printed the string. Let's see what we got here. Oh, do we have classes in our items too? That's probably it. Let's go to our items. Struct item data. We do. Let's kill that, save that, give that another shot, because we're for the purposes of the demo. Yep, that worked. Cool. So now, if we go back to our database, we connect to it, we should have both items and weapons, which we do, except they both say weapons, which is not correct. So what did I do wrong? I must have connected the wrong string. Items. That's items. I connected the wrong string up here. Items object. Items object. Items object. Items. There's something I'm missing. Set weapons equal to items equal to items JSON object. Items JSON object. These are the items. Interesting. Oh wait. Oh wait. Set field weapon. Set field items. Nope, that's not it. We're gonna get the string from that. We're gonna get the string from the items JSON object. I want to print this too. Something seems off here, y'all. Let's disconnect. Disconnect. And let's go print play. Let's go again. It looks like it's combining the two. It looks like what we have is, looking at this, we have weapons and we have items in the same JSON object. Somehow we're stacking this somehow. Items JSON object. Oh, it's because we're not storing just the items. I don't actually understand that. That doesn't. I must be stacking these somewhere, y'all. Can we clear this items? Set field. We're going to set field items to nothing. And then we're going to set it. Oh, wait. No? That's the right one. Let's try that one more time. Except I have an error. What's going on? Oh, value. We have to fill that in. Let's go. I don't want to get lost with this, y'all. Alright, let's duplicate this. And I'm going to just try something. I'm going to force this empty. I should not have to do this. I'm missing something somewhere. Empty. Empty objects. Compile. Play. Okay. Right after this, let's do one more print. I'm going to take this items JSON object and let's get the JSON string. I want to see what it is right here. I'm going to print this as green. I'm going to go 20. Let's just play this. So it's wrong already. So somehow our JSON object, somehow there's an error in this for loop, I think. So we're coming through, we're setting our weapons objects, we're setting our weapons JSON field in the weapons JSON object. And then we're going to go through each of the items, unless our item data is wrong. It could be that our item data is wrong. Let's just, it could be that for some reason our weapons are stacked. Let's go yellow. Do we see any weapons in our items? Nope. They're perfect. Okay. So we're loading JSON from string. We're adding it to items. Oh, I see it. I missed it. Oh, my fault, y'all. But we found it. Okay. So we're adding items JSON object. We need to add the up here. We need to add this. Hold on a second. No. Items OBJs. The items should be fine. Field names items. Green. How is this items objects getting anything but the yellow content? It shouldn't. Alright, this is going to drive me nuts, y'all. Let's just fix it. Let's find it. Alright, so after we're done, I'm going to take this item's obj, which is here, and I'm going to JSON string, and let's print that string, and we're going to print it as yellow again for 20. This is something obvious right in front of me, and I just can't see it because probably because we're in the middle of a live stream. All right, 20. All right, and then we'll just go ahead and go back. Just let the rest play out. That didn't print anything. What? Hold on. This is items JSON object, and we're setting the field to items JSON object, items obj, weapons. For each one, we're setting the items objs. Then we're going to, that print is not working. And then we're getting the field from the items objs, and we're printing the string. I don't see it, y'all. Does anybody see it? Items. Literally, we come in here. This is our items. If in here we load JSON string, load JSON from string, and we're adding it to the items. And the strings, just once again, from a sanity check standpoint, if we print in here the string that we're loading the JSON to, and we do it as yellow, and we do it for 20, when we press play, the only thing that's going into items is boots of defense, health crystal, and mana potion. Everybody sees that, right? Okay, so all of those are getting loaded into a JSON string, and that is getting loaded into this items obj, and it's being added. This items obj is used in 1, 2, 3 places. Okay, let's take this items obj. For each, let's get the JSON string, and let's print it. We're going to print this string. We're going to print this as we're running out of colors, y'all. We're so deep down the rabbit hole, we've run out of colors. Let's go purple. Oh, I didn't connect the for each. Okay, and we'll go 20 on this one too. Alright, play. So that's boots, health crystal, and mana potion. That's all that's in there. That's all that's in there. So the only thing in items objs is boots, is the items. Okay, so we're going to set the items JSON. Where are we using this? Maybe we're accidentally setting this in more than one place. We're setting the field for items in this items JSON OB. Oh, you know what it is, y'all? Oh, I know what it is. I think I know what it is. I'm going to take this items OBJ and I'm going to delete it. If this is what it is, I'm going to be very happy with Unreal. I'm going to call this items with a Z just to make sure. I'm going to make this a JSON object. I'm wondering if because we duplicated the variable as opposed to making a new one, it's causing it to have the same ID. Okay, so we're going to set the items field to be this. Okay, we should have a couple places that we have errors. Yep. We're going to take this items, we're going to print them in green. Okay, we should have one more. We're going to take the items and we're going to print that in thing, and then let's see, do we get a proper? Oh my gosh. Warren was close to right. There was some weird thing where because I duplicated this variable, I don't know why, it like created something crazy. Okay, and as a result of that, it was like it was accessing the same thing. I've never seen anything quite like that, but we got there. Bottom line is we got there. We now have in our database for Rusty is a new happy owner of a bunch of weapons and a bunch of items like mana potions and level 10 crystals and heals and things like that. Yeah, this is crazy. Like this is a crazy thing. But sometimes you just, print strings will help you find the wildest solutions. So I love print strings. Okay. Back on track, and we learned something new, something to watch out for. Let's load this stuff just very quickly because we are so out of time. All right. What we're going to do is when we select everything, if we just go ahead and load and play, if we walk over this, you'll see it prints out all our stuff for Rusty, right? But the weapons and the items are coming in as a JSON string, which is fine because we already know how to deal with that. So we're getting all the information as a database, but we're storing the information in the database as a JSON string. Now, this is a cool thing to understand because just like anything else, you can store all kinds of different stuff in databases. You can store integers and floats and texts and strings. You can even store blobs, which can be like binary data and stuff like that, or data of any format that you want. So in this particular case, we're using JSON strings. So in here, what we can do is when we come through here, as we're going through this loop, if the key is equal to, let me double check, because I'm running on 2 hours of sleep. All right, so when we come in here, we're going to print it. But the other thing we're going to do is we're going to check to see if this is equal to, remember triple equal for strings. We're going to check to see if it's weapons. All right, we're just going to do this with the weapons example. If this is true, in addition to printing the text, we're also going to break apart that JSON string now. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to, with this find, we're going to get the JSON. No, JSON convert to load JSON from string. This is what I want. So this is going to take that weapons data, if this is true, and we are going to take that object and we are going to get the field names, and we're just going to loop through like we do in everything else, so that you all know how to do that. And then for each of these, we are going to get the field for that name. And with that, we are going to do a for each loop, because remember this is the turducken of data storage. We've got a SQL with a field. Inside a field is a JSON object, which is inside a series of fields. Okay, a turducken, by the way, for anybody who doesn't know, is like a duck inside of a turkey inside of a, I don't even remember, right? Okay, so then for each of these, what field names? We're getting the field. Do I need a for each here? I don't think so. So we're getting the field from the JSON object. And then for that element, let's just print the string, and we're going to append. Let's just append this so we can see it all together. I'm going to add a pen here. Let's put a semicolon there, and then we're going to go with the field name to start with, and then the field value to end with, and then we're going to print it. We'll do 20 seconds, and we'll go with something that we can read. Hopefully, let's try yellow. Hopefully that is enough so that when we walk over this pad, we get no weapons. I did miss one of my folders. All right, so hold on a second. So we load our JSON from string, then we get our field names, and then we go for each of those field names, we get the field, and then, yeah, we do need the for each loop. So for each loop here, I was right. For each loop here, we're going to disconnect this. This is going to be an array. And it's going to be an array of, we're going to get the fields. Hold on a second. Get the field names for each, get the field, and then for each, we're going to get the field again. We're going to get the field from this, I believe. Get the field. And then this is going to connect into here. No. Hold on. Slow down. Slow down. Alright, we're going to load our string. We're going to get the field names. For each of our field names, okay, we're going to get the field. Okay, and then from that, for each of those, that should be connected to the JSON object that comes out of our load string, which it is. We got the no. Why can't I keep this straight, though? I'm having a problem with this. So JSON from string, get the field names, it returns the string. The string is the for loop. Okay, then we're getting the fields. These fields should return an array of JSON objects. So let's disconnect this, and let's go. We're going to connect this in. We're going to connect that in, and this is going to be get field. Get field. Nope. So we have to back connect it. There we go. That gets us the right thing. Okay. Get field, and then the field name. Hold on, y'all. I need a minute. Okay, one more try. My goodness. Let's load the string. We're going to load JSON from string. We're going to get the field names. Our field names is going to return an array of strings. we're going to go through for each of those strings, okay? And we're going to get the field name. And when we get the field name, we're going to get the field name of the JSON object and the name that came out of our for loop, okay? And if we could move this up so that that's clearer, okay? And then for each of those, we're going to get field names again. Get field names again. And that is going to take not get field names. Wait, did I just mess this up again? Okay, wait, get field names. Alright, we're gonna get the field names. Then for, okay, we needed one more turducken, I think, for each loop. And for each of these, we are going to take what went into this field names. We're going to get the field. And the name of the field is going to be that. And we're going to fill in that. And then that is going to be this is our name. We connected to the wrong one. And this is going to be our value. And then theoretically, oh my gosh. Theoretically, there we go. Holy smokes. Okay, if that was confusing, probably should have been, because it was. And what we had is, like I said, from a turducken standpoint, or if you don't like the turducken reference, you can use a blazar, which is like a black hole inside of a quasar, whatever it is. All of it is stuff inside of stuff. So we basically had, because we're storing in our database, actually you can see it here in the print string, because our database is a field, inside the field we have weapons. Inside of that field we have the weapons. Inside of weapons we have a JSON object, which is an array, and inside of that is all of the fields that we have to access, which is why we have to go I think it's like a triple nest. Let's see here. There's our string, so then we get the field names, then we get the field, then we get the field names again, then we get the field inside the field names. All right. After all of that, bottom line is, the cool thing is, we are actually saving information to our database. We are getting information out of our database. We're using simple SQL statements to do that. This is a little bit of what goes into building systems that work around databases, y'all. So as a result of it, at this point, from a save game standpoint, really, I think the bottom line is whether you're using the save object, whether you're using JSON, whether you're using databases, there's all just different ways to track and connect to the data. The trickiest part of all of it is data structures. And decisions on your data structures have a significant impact on how much work you have to do, how difficult it is to maintain it. And some of you might be thinking, how do we know what the right data structure is? You just saw it is highly dependent. It's highly dependent on your game. It's highly dependent on how your structure is set up. And realistically, probably my best piece of advice for this is do a prototype. Do a rapid prototype like this, right? Make a quick little access, whether it be JSON or database or whatever, and then just wait. Just wait. A couple few weeks, you're going to have to change something. And when you do, and you have to rebuild your entire data structure as a result of it, you will be thankful that you did not spend insane amounts of time polishing the most pristine data access algorithms ever. Because I can almost guarantee you, as many times as I've done this, I end up reworking. It is a living, breathing thing. It's kind of like source art naming structures. It's a living, breathing thing. As your project develops and new systems come online, new gameplay features come online, you're like, I didn't think about that. All of a sudden you have cinematics in your game that weren't there before. Take your pick. So But hopefully this is giving you all a fun window into how all this stuff works. And I'm going to double check for some questions here. See how we're doing. Okay. Let's see here. Abfuzzle, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. It is, welcome to stream first off. I think that's a new name, I haven't seen that in a while, or ever. All of our training and tutorials are either in the video section or in the live section. We have a lot of stuff in the live section because for the last well over a year, we've been crazy enough to do this every week live. Sometimes they go much more fun than today, and other times they go swimmingly. Let's see here. Basilic, welcome to the stream. Lucky Dogs, good to see you again. Warren, it only happens. I end up using Miro. Tomas, is it easier to do this stuff from CCP or CPP, or you run into the same problems? So you run into the same. You're gonna have to tackle the same problems from the standpoint of so you're going to have to have a way to pass the data to yourself. You're going to have a way to wrap the data. It might be easier in C++ to wrap it, to do all of the escape characters and everything like that, but you're still going to have to manage all of this stuff. I think if I was going to do this, I would probably do a little bit of what Warren was talking about earlier. And I would either find a plugin that has the libraries I want, so I'm not building SQL statements on the fly in Blueprint, or I would take the time to build out my own SQL library in Blueprint. Now, that said, depending on your game, some of you may not need the SQL access, right? From the standpoint of you may not need, you may be just fine using JSON to track all your stuff. If you're not shipping a multiplayer online shareable stuff, like I don't even know if I would go down this road. And then even if I did, having a very simple data structure, like what we just did at the end here, where we put all the player weapons and items in the player table. So there's one record. Make life easier for yourself. You're shipping something on Switch. You're not networking that thing. There's no reason to pass that around. Okay, cool. But yes, same. You're going to tackle the same issues. Whether or not it's easier is going to be largely dependent on if you are just more comfortable in Python and code or not. Yes, Lucky Dog. There you go. All right, y'all. I just wanted one more shout out to all of you. It has been an amazing time doing these tutorials live. You all have been super supportive. You all have helped. You all have helped me struggle through some pretty epic fun live streams that have super gone south. And I appreciate all of you all being here each week, helping me make sure my audio is turned on. I can't thank you enough. The channel is not done, y'all. Just keep an eye on the calendar. Watch for tutorials and training that are coming out. We are going to be increasing our Patreon streams, so we're going to be doing more dev streams going forward. Probably twice a week, maybe. I'm going to shoot for like twice a week for the dev streams when we learn stuff and we think it would be beneficial to the entire dev community. I'll go ahead and record a tutorial, or I'll do an impromptu live stream on how we did it or what we solved. Zachary Smith, welcome to the stream. Thank you for being here. Teal up. Good to see you. It looks like a lot of people waiting out the wings. In the meantime, as always, if you're interested, hop in Discord. We have a lot of really cool people going on. helping each other out. No question too big, no question too small. It really is a safe space to fall on your face. Helping the channel out, spreading the word, keep an eye out for the devlog stuff coming up. And and if you are interested in being part of the dev streams, those are a little bit more of an open conversation. Generally speaking, the way those work is I hop on, I usually try to work through a specific thing. So for example, the next dev stream, we're going to try to work through a couple pieces of character movement, specifically jumping down and slamming down. And that's going to be ongoing, and then I will be releasing devlogs either every 2 to 4, somewhere in the 2 to 4 week range is what I'm shooting for. So hopefully I see you all on Patreon, otherwise in an upcoming live stream when we do get to that point. But mostly, thank you very much for being part of this phase of this adventure. This has been a lot of fun, and I have learned a ton from you all. Thank you so much. Also, take it easy. Have an amazing rest of your day. Awesome weekend. And I'm sorry I didn't turn off the Discord chimes. That wasn't yours. That was mine. Have an amazing weekend. And I will catch you all in the future. Have a good one.